Hello everybody, this is the King of Pikmin here yet again, and today we have some more For Honor news. So there are a multitude of interviews that came out because of E3, three in particular that I'm going to be using, that gave us some cool insight into some new gameplay mechanics for the For Honor game, and some story details. So I'm just going to do a quick breakdown of those real quick. So here in this clip that I picked out, we actually see, for the first time, a player in a duel using a shield. Up until now, we've only seen minions using the shields, and you can just kill them with one swing. But in this clip, the opponent you're fighting is clearly a more powerful opponent because you're using the art of battle against them. And it's the first time we've actually seen a shield on what I suppose to be a playable character. Because in my mind, if we see the player, like, engaging in combat with someone using the art of battle system, I feel like it's a pretty good chance that they're going to be a playable character in the multiplayer. So we'll have to wait and see if I'm right on that, but regardless, it's still interesting to see a character using a shield during the art of combat. As a huge fan of shields, I can't wait to see more of that. And using the same picture, I wanted to point out that we've actually seen the HUD now, because when they showed the single player prior to this, so like these interviews and stuff, they showed like a cinematic version of it, and we didn't see the HUD, but now we can see the HUD. So I wanted to point out a few things. At the top left, you can see the objective that you currently have, and then above the players' heads, well, above the player's head and then the NPC's head, you can see the health, which is the white blocks. The white blocks are the health and how much is remaining. And then the green bar underneath that is stamina, which we didn't know there was going to be stamina in the game up until this point. But I kind of like the addition of stamina, because that way you can't just wildly swing over and over again. It gives it more depth, because you have to be more cautious with your swings, because if you run out of stamina, you're not going to be able to retaliate. So I personally like that addition. And then if you look at the bottom right, there's actually a radar, or a compass, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it a radar, honestly, because that's pretty much what it is. So basically, you're able to see your objective on the radar and some of the enemies around you, which I assume is going to transfer over to multiplayer, which I think is a good thing, because in a game like this, you're going to be fighting somebody, and you don't want two people just sneaking up on you without knowing that they're coming. So I kind of like that they're putting a radar in there. And then if you look at the bottom left, you actually see two squares that are faded out. Later, there's actually pictures inside those squares that are faded out, and I'm guessing that's going to be single-player feats. Now, if you know from the multiplayer, there's actually things called feats. When you're doing well and everything, the knight, for instance, can call in a catapult strike. That's one of his feats. Or he can rally troops. So I'm assuming those are the feats down there underneath that. And above the feats is actually something called the revenge meter, which I'm not going to explain too much. I'll just let Jason Vandenberg, who's the person who was being interviewed, he explains it perfectly. And I'll just play the clip so that he can explain it to you guys.
It seems like there are a bunch of new gameplay systems in the campaign that we didn't see last year, like the revenge stuff. Was that in last year's demo? Or?
It was not in last year's demo, although we had the first pieces of that. What you're actually seeing is just an evolution of the core system. That revenge system that you're seeing, that piece, right, is actually, it also works in multiplayer. It's a lot of fun you'll see that in the next alpha that we do, right? So we'll get a chance to try that out. The way that revenge works is that as you block and defend yourself, your revenge meter fills up, and then when you trigger it, for a while you're uninterruptible, and so you can take hits and swing right through the hits, and so it's really useful in those 2v1 situations, right? Where you're doing a lot of blocking, so your meter will fill right up, and then you can counter it, right? So most of the mechanics that you're seeing here in the single player campaign also have translations in the multiplayer game. We really want to keep that core as close as possible to each other, right? In some cases there's some differences, but we really want that campaign to be the entryway into the multiplayer game, if that's what you want to do. If you want to keep playing after you finish the campaign in a multiplayer, you're welcome to do it.
So here in this clip, you actually see, if you guys remember, the Viking throws an opponent onto the spikes, and Jason actually confirms this is actually going to transition over to multiplayer. It's a multiplayer mechanic as well. I'll play that clip for you guys right now.
Looking for a way through. And there's some, conveniently placed spikes right there, and maybe, nice. That worked out.
Yep. Okay.
Also a multiplayer mechanic, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
And then here we get a clip of the Viking doing a DFA, which stands for Death from Above, which is a one-shot instant kill. So he throws this samurai over the edge and then jumps down after him doing his Death from Above. And every character is going to be able to do this in multiplayer and single player, and it's a one-shot kill. One last little gameplay feature that we have learned about due to these interviews is this right here. When you see we know the Viking has that guard break where he runs with the person and can slam him against the wall, then knee him in the head. But keep an eye on, like right here, I'll pause it for you guys. The little effect that goes around the samurai's head, the little blue lines and everything, actually signifies a gameplay feature, which is called a stun. Against the NPC, it doesn't matter too much. In multiplayer, or if you in single player get hit by a stun attack, it just blows away your HUD, which means like normally you can see the arrows showing where their weapon is located and everything, but when you're stunned, as you see here, the samurai stuns him in return. You can't see where like the arrows aren't there, and your HUD isn't on the screen either. So that's just an interesting mechanic. It's going to be hard because now you'll actually have to look at their weapon and not the arrows that designate where his weapon is. So it'll make it like if you're in the middle of a battle and get stunned, you're going to have to pay a lot more attention to the person you're fighting, which I think is a pretty cool mechanic, because if it stunned you in place and gave you the opponent free attacks, I wouldn't like that very much. But as it stands right now, it just takes away your HUD and makes you have to think and pay more attention, which I personally think is a cool mechanic. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to go over is actually scary territory for me. I'm just going to play it. It has to do with the storyline, so I'm just going to play this clip and for you guys to listen to, and I'll talk about it.
We saw a little bit of the villain Apollon.
Yes.
What can you tell us about her?
So Apollon, she's the leader, sort of the warlord of the Blackstone Legion, and Apollon appears to be someone who is attempting to just defeat the enemies and unite the knights, but in fact she is much more interested in continuing the war than maybe ending it, right? That she believes that the world is divided into wolves and sheep, and that the wolves have a right to prey on the sheep, right? And she's setting about to set the world into that image, right?
Alright, so there you have it. Apollon, maybe she's trying to deceive the knights into thinking she wants to unite them and just fight off their enemies and just keep to themselves, but Jason reveals that she doesn't actually want that. She's truly the antagonist of the game, and she wants more war. And he tells us of a vision she has of the world where there's wolves and sheep, and then the wolves have the right to prey on the sheep, which is literally the exact opposite of what knights stand for. So please let the Blackstone Legion be their own faction. Please don't bring the knights, like the traditional knights in the faction in the game of the knights, into the Blackstone Legion. Don't make them the villains, please. That's all. I know no one that makes the game is going to be watching this, but my personal hope is that they don't do that to me, because I wouldn't be able to handle that. That would make me that would upset me very much. I mean, it wouldn't take away from the game. Like it would take away from the storyline for me because of just how highly I view the knights, but that's just a personal nitpick, I suppose. But I just really, more than anything, don't want the knights to be joined with the Blackstone Legion, and if for whatever reason they're forced into it, they don't want to be, and they come out and start fighting against the Blackstone Legion towards the end of the game. That's just my hopes, guys. I hope I taught you guys something about the gameplay and everything. And please just keep your fingers crossed for me, because I just wouldn't be able to handle the knights being the villain. If they follow Apollon willingly and kind of want to take over as like a new take on knights, that would just that would upset me and just take away from the knights in the knights in the game, not knights in general in my mind. I would still love knights, but in the game, the knights in the game I wouldn't like. So I have faith that they're not going to do that, because Jason himself is a fan of knights, so I find it hard to believe that he'd make them go and follow her willingly, because he knows that they're defenders and they're meant to defend the weak, not be wolves that's supposed to prey on the weak. That's literally the opposite of what knights stand for. Rather than end a video on a bad note and my worries of what the knights might be in the story build, I wanted to end it on a good note. And in this video, in this clip that I took, you see the knight taking a knee, and he's about to be knighted by a member of the Blackstone Legion. But when you see the sword of the member of the Blackstone Legion, when you see him put it on the warden's left side, the warden almost looks at it and then looks away, like as though he's shamed by it or disgusted that he's in the situation he's in, which makes me feel like he doesn't want to be here and he doesn't want this to be happening. And then right after that, as he's about to be knighted, the video cuts, and then it shows him fighting a member of the Blackstone Legion, which gives me such a great amount of hope, guys. Like, because imagine this, it would give me the chills. He's sitting there, waiting to be like about to be knighted, and then he stands up and just starts fighting back and just goes against what the Blackstone Legion wants and takes a stand. That would be absolutely phenomenal. I would be, like I said, it'd give me the chills, and I'd be the happiest man on the earth. So I think it'd be great. So I really hope that's what happens. I hope it's not the knights being villains. That's just like the last thing I want. So, but I feel like this gives me a lot of hope that won't be the case. So, at the top left, your mission objective at this point is also kill Adamar of Raby. So I'm assuming that I'm actually right with this. So I'm really excited to see this play out. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, as always, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.